Hello everybody, welcome back to the Quick Take and welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video, I'll be providing a deep dive into some of the midfield targets linked to Chelsea and ranking them in order from worst to best. But before I get into that, I'd just like to say a massive thank you for 5,000 subscribers. The support for my videos has just been incredible and it's all down to you guys. There is nothing I love more than writing, recording and editing and reading your comments in every video. So the idea that one day I'll be able to do this full time fills me with just so much joy. I planned on doing a 5,000 subscriber special, but I think I'll wait until 10,000. Right then, on with the video. In 2005, former Leicester City striker and now Walker's Crisps ambassador Gary Lineker stated in an article for The Guardian that midfield is where the game's likely to be won and lost, and I couldn't agree more. It's a battlefield where strength and on-the-ball genius can be the deciding factor for possession, for stopping and starting attacks while also building morale. Just a few seasons ago, it could be argued Chelsea Football Club had one of the strongest midfields in world football. A trio of Jorginho, Kovacic and Kante once caused many a sleepless night for some Premier League and Champions League players. That was then. Nowadays, Kante is prone to injury, Jorginho plays for Arsenal, and Kovacic's future at Chelsea appears to be coming to a close, with the move away in the summer looking likely. This is an area which, thankfully, has already been identified as one in desperate need of investment. Enzo Fernandez, a deep-lying playmaker, was signed in the final hours of the deadline day in the January transfer window for €120 million, a Premier League record for the young World Cup winner. Along with Enzo, Chelsea have been busy investing in youth talents as Carney Chukwuemeka and Andre Santos have also committed their futures to the London club, along with 15-year-old Ecuadorian Kendry Paez, the latter setting Boli's billionaire consortium back €20 million. However, with all the incomings, outgoings are expected to come thick and fast, with the futures of Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Mateo Kovacic, Ethan Ampadu, and with Denis Zakaria loan ending in the summer, Chelsea will need to invest again, and invest correctly. What is really needed is a perfect partner for Enzo Fernandez in a double pivot, a system to be expected with the arrival of Mauricio Pochettino almost inevitable at this point. As a result, I have outlined 4 potential signings which I believe can make Chelsea a dominant side once more. The first player I will be looking at is Romeo Lavia. The 19-year-old Belgian midfielder joined the Saints from the Manchester City Academy for a little over £10 million, an absolute steal in hindsight. Since joining the Saints, Lavia has impressed many Premier League clubs, making 25 league appearances, putting himself at the top of Chelsea's summer midfield wishlist. But why? Lavia is one of the few players who I believe their underlying metrics aren't a fair representation of their true ability. Although his highest percentile ranking is blocking sitting in the 90th percentile, Lavia doesn't really stand out on paper in any other stat. For both interceptions and tackles, he ranks on the 71st percentile, although he does also rank highly in pass completions and successful take-ons. What this tells us without even watching him play is he's a progressive ball-carrying defensive midfielder, a little bit like Mateo Kovacic if Mateo Kovacic was 6 feet tall and one of the most promising young DMs in the league. However, football isn't all about stats and numbers, and I truly believe in the eye test, I really do. From what I've witnessed, Lavia is incredibly confident on the ball, quick-feeted and able to shift his body weight with ease, allowing him to drift past opponents and glide through opposition press like a hot knife through butter. His passing range is certainly impressive. The Belgian is not afraid to play longer passes with his weaker foot. Not with 100% accuracy every time, but enough to provoke the notion that he is not set on one foot and is determined to utilise both feet when possible. With every pro there must be cons. Yes, Lavia is an exciting prospect, but he is also prone to mistakes. This can be a result of inexperience. Once again, he is only 19 years old. But for a side that desperately needs some form of solidarity and experience in the defensive midfielder position, it can be argued Lavia may not be best suited for this role alongside Enzo. At Southampton, Lavia plays alongside James Ward-Prowse in a double pivot. He is certainly the deepest lying midfielder for the Saints, but that doesn't make him the most defensively set player. He isn't a destroyer like Casemiro. I'm not saying he can't become that kind of a player, but it's not what he is right now. To get the best out of Enzo, Chelsea need a defensive rock to allow the Argentinian to drift into areas, opening passing lanes and split defences in half. It has been reported the 19-year-old midfielder could be available in the summer for around £45 million, a fair fee in today's football economy. However, this hasn't taken into consideration the possibility, or the highly likelihood, that Southampton may find themselves relegated at the end of the season, potentially lowering the young prospect's price tag to somewhere in the region of £30 to £35 million. The next player I will be looking at is Sporting Lisbon's Manuel Ugarte. Whilst conducting the necessary research for my Ruben Amorim manager breakdown, I stumbled across a certain Uruguayan talent and was immediately impressed by his overall metrics. Ugarte joined Sporting in the August of 2021 for a €6.5 million fee. With hindsight, this was an incredible piece of business from the Portuguese side. Under Amorim, Ugarte has blossomed into one of the best defensive midfield prospects in world football today. On paper, he is unbelievable. Manuel Ugarte currently sits in the 99th percentile for tackles per game, averaging 4.63 per match. Ugarte is also ranked in the 98th percentile for interceptions, 90th for blocks, 90th for successful take-ons, 84th for passes attempted. However, he finds himself in the 99th ranking for pass completion. What this tells us without the eye test is that Ugarte is an extremely hard-working defensive midfielder, making tackles left, right and centre before taking on a player, progressing the play and beginning the transition into an attack before finding a player with one of his 91.3% accurate passes. Again, he is still only 22 years old. Sporting Lisbon play a 3-4-3 with Ugarte playing as a right-sided midfielder next to Morita, although it can be argued Ugarte is the more defensively sound of the two. His heat map shows just how much he involves himself in play and the sheer amount of ground he covers per game. Now for the eye test, Ugarte is someone who I like to call a toe tackler. Where some more defensive players use their tall, built frame to win physical duels, Ugarte uses impeccable timing, sticking out his boot, stinging the ball and off he goes. He doesn't need to throw himself into every tackle. This, by the way, is in no way suggesting Ugarte can't outmuscle players. Quite the contrary, the Uruguayan is a very strong player, but the way he tackles, there's no wasted energy. All he needs is the slightest of touches and the ball is his. I would love nothing more than to show you footage of Ugarte actually playing. However, the copyright rules can be a minefield to navigate. I don't want to be that guy, but if you take the time and watch a video showcasing Ugarte's abilities, you'll immediately understand what I mean when I say toe tackler. A move for Manuel Ugarte will cost the Blues around £53 million, his full release clause. If you ask me, 53 million is the new 30 million. It's a sweet spot where you're not coughing up hundreds of millions of pounds, whilst at the same time paying a premium price for a premium player. If Chelsea were to partner Enzo with Ugarte, I would be very, very excited. Now, on to our third player, Manu Kone, also known as Manu Kone. Kone is an interesting one, having developed many admirers as of recent times, including PSG, Napoli, Newcastle, Liverpool, and now, of course, Chelsea. Kone is a central midfielder who has established himself as one of the up-and-coming talents in the Bundesliga, playing for Borussia Mönchengladbach. For a young player, Kone shows signs of excellent footballing intelligence, often making overlapping runs out to the wings when his team is on the attack, creating new passing lanes and causing the defensive structure to be stretched. When on the ball, he makes great use of his physical advantages. Standing at just over 6 feet tall, Kone is an imposing character and is able to shield the ball with ease against most forms of pressure. He is certainly a player who thrives in a possession-based side, although he can hold his own when out of possession, fearless in tackles when his team need them. One drawback to Kone's game is his lack of progressive passing, instead favouring the horizontal pass or a pass backwards over a more vertical direction. Manu Kone ranks in the 47th percentile for progressive passes received, although he also ranks in the 96th percentile for successful take-ons, along with the 79th ranking for completed passes. His defensive metrics aren't too impressive, which could be put down to the overall playstyle of Borussia Mönchengladbach. He currently ranks in the 74th percentile for both tackles and blocks, along with interceptions, where he sits 53rd in the rankings. But, I've said it once and I'll say it again, the eye test is very important when judging a player for who they really are and what they can potentially bring to a side. Manu Kone has an aggressive playstyle, pressing high up the field to regain possession closer to the opponent's goal. This comes with its pros and cons. Yes, it puts the opposition under pressure, but at the same time, if the press is unsuccessful, Kone is taken out of the defensive question, so to speak. This can come from inexperience, and I'm sure as he develops, this will be an issue which is less prevalent. However, this playstyle does make it difficult to envision Kone as either a sole number 6 or a more defensive partner to Enzo Fernandez, who also likes to press higher at the field when given the opportunity. It's estimated Manu Kone will be available for around £26 million in the summer, which in my opinion is very cheap in today's market for a player like Kone. Young, exciting, clearly talented, smooth on the ball, French, standout player. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Now, the final player I will be looking at is a man who has been linked to Chelsea since before the beginning of time, a player who has had his ups and downs, a player who was once part of the Chelsea Academy. I am of course talking about Mr. Basmati himself, Declan Rice. Now, all bias aside, Declan Rice is a phenomenal player. At 23 years old, he was made the captain for West Ham. If that isn't some inclination into the type of player and character he is on the field and in the dressing room, I don't know what is. Rice has made 201 league appearances for West Ham so far, playing as a number 6 but also as centre-back early in his career, a system implemented by Pochettino during his time at Tottenham, with Eric Dyer dropping into a defensive line as a semi-centre-half. West Ham play with a 4-2-3-1 with Rice partnering Thomas Souček in a double pivot. Again, a similar system to Mauricio Pochettino. The English international is one of the best defensive midfielders in the league by many estimations, and it's clear to see why. Declan Rice ranks in the 97th percentile for interceptions and in the 86th for clearances, along with an 85th ranking for progressive carries, meaning he intercepts players' runs and passes before running with the ball, accelerating the attack. Rice's qualities aren't just limited to the field, however. Chelsea have, as many of you may know, made many signings as of late, with only Madueke, Enzo Fernandez and arguably Wesley Fofana showing any real sign of understanding the position that they're in and what it means to play for Chelsea Football Club. Declan Rice grew up and still is a Chelsea fan who, if signed for the club, would immediately want to follow in the footsteps of former captain John Terry in installing a Chelsea identity, the winner's mentality, something that was lost a while ago. I believe Declan Rice would work well next to Enzo Fernandez, taking over the defensive duties and allowing the Argentinian to do what he does best, create. Chelsea will face fierce competition from Arsenal, who have already began making inroads with the former Chelsea Academy player. However, I believe if the option was provided to Rice to either rejoin his boyhood club, who are clearly in the process of creating a very dominant side in the near future, or Arsenal, who have just bottled the league, he's choosing Chelsea. A move for Declan will cost the London club upwards of £90 million to even a figure over £100 million. That's the price you have to pay for a Premier League captain, a world-class defensive midfielder who is still to reach their prime in their career. This makes Declan Rice the most expensive option available, although it's clear the pockets of Clearlake Capital are indeed rather deep. So, I'll be ranking these players from 4 to 1, with first being, in my opinion, the best partner for Enzo Fernandez in the double pivot. At number 4, we have Manu Kone. Before I start, this by no means indicates Manu Kone is a bad player. In fact, I believe him to be an excellent player, but he's not what we need. From what I've seen, he's more of a box-to-box and a solid defensive 6, a bit like Kante in that respect. I think he'd leave us too open, cause Enzo to have to drop deeper to help him out with the defensive work. His price is attractive, but just because he's available at an affordable rate, that doesn't mean we have to pay it. Again, great player, but he doesn't tick the right boxes for me. At number 3, it's Romeo Lavia. This one surprised me. I have admired Lavia for a while now, although I do believe I may have allowed myself to get caught up in the hype. Yes, the signs are there that he can turn into an unbelievable defensive midfielder, but he is also young, a bit raw and inexperienced. Chelsea have a lot of that at the moment. What is needed is a bit more security, a guarantee that the person walking into the number 6 position and taking on that responsibility can handle it at the highest level. I just don't think Lavia is there yet. At number 2, and believe me, number 2 and 1 are extremely close, but at number 2 is Manuel Ugarte. Unbelievable player, metrics are off the charts, his ceiling is non-existent. I truly believe Manuel Ugarte could walk into the Premier League and make headlines. He is that good in my estimations. The only reason he isn't number 1 is down to reasons out of his control, but again, if Chelsea were to sign him, unbelievable piece of business right there. Unbelievable. And at number 1, it is of course Basmati, Declan Rice himself. I'm sorry, but Declan Rice ticks every single box, draws a few extra boxes and ticks in those boxes as well. He's a Chelsea fan, world class, defensively astute, very mature, captain material. Call me a Yerdar. Alright, I know some Chelsea fans dislike Declan Rice with a passion, but this man is exactly what we're looking for. Premier League proven, doing bits in the Conference League, young but still experienced in the league and in Europe. You have to respect Declan Rice. I haven't forgotten that when Chelsea were on pre-season, Declan Rice, the West Ham captain, joined along with the squad when they visited the LA Dodgers Stadium to, I don't know, make nice nights with Todd Boehly. And of course, his friendship with Mason Mount is well documented, and it looks like Chelsea are really trying to keep a hold of Mason Mount. Obviously, there's a possibility Mason Mount could leave, and that may have some sort of impact on our likelihood of signing Declan Rice. But if Mason Mount's demands are reached, then I can see obviously the Englishman staying, and that could be somewhat of a deciding factor as to whether or not Declan Rice would return to Chelsea, of course being let go from the academy. He is everything Chelsea need right now and for the future. He gets it. There's videos of him celebrating with the West Ham Academy after cup wins, and a very touching video came out following the United game of him comforting an overwhelmed West Ham fan and giving him his shirt. He understands his role as a captain. He represents not just himself but the whole squad. If he were to join Arsenal, it would be one of the biggest what ifs ever in Chelsea history. So, in conclusion, in 4th it's Manu Kone, Lavia in 3rd, Ugarte in a very close 2nd, and Declan Rice at the top spot. Honourable mentions include Palhinha of Fulham, Zubimendi of Real Sociedad, and Moises Caicedo of Brighton. As I'm wrapping up the video, it's just started raining. I don't know if you can hear it. So that's about it. Let me know your thoughts on the video in the comment section down below. Who do you think would be the best partner for Enzo Fernandez? The like goal for the last video was 500. You guys absolutely smashed that with over 1,800 likes. Today's like goal is 600. I know you can do it. According to YouTube, over 89% of the people watching my videos aren't subscribed. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you do subscribe. We're building an amazing community together. Why not join? I've been the Quick Take, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.